So I hope everyone can see my screen. So the topic today, as I told in my introduction, is about automation. So automation can be anything. It can go from chatbots. It can go to, test automation or RPA, which is the buzzword nowadays. Or it can go to AI. Now I have picked one of the key automation technology, which is robotic process automation, where um, um, and my idea behind this presentation is to invoke some thoughts, um, to let you think in a different way by which how identity and access management operations and their process can be fulfilled using RPA. Now, each organization's process may be different and it may be unique, but this after this talk, I am sure that you'll have a different thought about fulfilling few of those applications or so those operations in a different way using RPA. So this is the agenda I want to cover today, the introduction which I have done, and I'll just give a like a high level prime around the RPA technology as is. I'm pretty sure that whoever is attending is should be able to know what RPA and all. And then the next one I want to jump in on some of the key IAM challenges which I have seen among my clients and how RPA can address them. And next followed by a couple of slides which tells about the end-to-end IAM life cycle, right from the identity creation to determination, and then what all the things that is happening inside the IAM life cycle, and then where and all automation can be injected. And I have put few of the sample case studies also, which I have tried, tested, and won with few of my clients. So that's all the agenda topic I want to cover today. So as you can see, as I told, like what is a robotic process automation? It's basically a software which tries to automate your repetitive and redundant processes. Say if you want to provision a user ID to an Active Directory, you have hundreds of users. You have to engage someone to sit there and copy paste from this application, this spreadsheet, and go to AD and then provision it. It's the same repetitive things, but you need somebody to do that. That's a showstopper, otherwise it won't be happening. So that's where one of the use case which I'm saying that where we can introduce some kind of automation. Here I'm saying about robotic process automation. So what robotic process automation is like, is something which can take out the redundant and make the resource free and use them in more high skilled job, rather than doing this repetitive and redundant operations. And it's been tested and proved, as most of you may be knowing about, the cost saving, the time saved about, and the error reduction. And that's one another key thing that is one of the salient features of RPA. The number of reduction in the error, especially in the data entry, especially in the provisioning, deprovisioning processes. We'll get into more details on that. So next, this slide talks about a few of the challenges that I've seen. On the left side, you have the challenges, the identity and access management challenges, and correspondingly, I am trying to pitch in the benefits that you may be able to get by leveraging RPA. One is the top challenges we have keep on hearing from the CISOs are the governance and compliance requirement. If somebody is doing that, are they documented somewhere? Are they doing the logs? Are they doing the deprovisioning right on time? So those kind of compliance requirement, and that's where how the JML is happening. So those kind of SOX requirement, compliance requirement is very key to all the organization, and that's where this real-time user deprovisioning about termination and synchronous identification of users and then notification of the policy violation. All these kind of things can be done through the using bots, which is the RPA technology. And another interesting thing is about all the RPA technology. They are able to give you a very detailed log files which tells about what the bot did at for each identity it touched at a time and second level details also. And that's another compliance requirement that most organization standards wants, and that's also fulfilled. Next one is about the data hygiene on the user identity, which you may be knowing about the data comparison, data validity, and the removal of the ghost accounts, which all the organizations have, but due to the legacy applications and also so those cleanup activities and increasing the data hygiene, identity data hygiene is another thing that can be achieved. Overpaying licensing fee. So many times the license have been tied to the identity, and then once it has been provisioned, it's very hard for a big organization to track it. If somebody goes out or somebody changes the roles over the time, he or she can be in the same organization, but he may have changed their role. But since they are already in the organization, the cloud company or any other software vendor, they'll be still be charging money for them, even though she or he maybe not be using it. So that's where the automated deprovisioning and entitlement review it's very key, and that's kind of a timely automated. If you timely automate those processes, this cost can be can be taken out. Engaging employee productivity, as I mentioned earlier, the repurpose, not take away the staff, but repurpose those IAM staff to more value-added things rather than just doing the repetitive task. Um, Thereby, you can save some cost also, and add more value and motivation for the employees also. Inconsistent and grandfather IAM processes. So many of the IAM process that we have seen have been done or been implemented like maybe 10 or 15 years back, when they didn't had that much visibility to the scalability of how the identity and access management space can develop to. And many of the processes are being very redundant with a lot of bottlenecks which can be avoided. And also when we start implementing the RPA, one of the first things which I normally do is streamline the process and optimizing the process, and then on top of that only we add the automation components. So this is an indirect benefit of using the RPA. Operation staff availability, especially during in this pandemic, where we have seen in the past 1 year where the number of contracting staff or the temporary staff or furloughs, all those things has to do with the identity. They have to temporarily deprovision or engage or the provisioning identities on a large scale. If you see all these Walmart or Instacart and all, they have to onboard a lot of people who are engaged in this, or contingent staff engagement, at the same time soft deleting the furloughed staff. So, and there may not be availability of staff to do this operation. So that's where another use case where the bots which can work 24 bar 7 to 365 days come into business, and they can help you out there. The next one, the last one I have on here is the access certification process, which how the UAR are very important and how hard is to track each application owners, get them do that. And then if it is a global application which multiple languages involved, multiple application, it's add another dimension too. And that's where we can employ the bots to do the access review, chase the people, even in multiple languages. You can have the bot talk to them, and once you get the entitlement approval or disapproval, they can go and update the specific system, source of truth, or or the spreadsheet, or however the organization manage it. So these are the kind of high level challenges and the expected benefits that I could see, and I've seen that in real time with the organization. This slide talks about the IAM lifecycle from the current state. Like as you can see on the left, you have all these employee HR events which triggers the joiner, mover, or leaver. It comes to the source of truth. and there is a need of a cleanup. And then this, I'm assuming that an organization has an identity and access management tool which takes care of all the connected application deprovisioning and provisioning. um, but there are a lot of other things that an organization has to do, especially if there is disconnected applications, and with respect to certification, onboarding, ticketing, and the custom reports. So this is not like this gives you a high level view of the things that is happening in the IAM spectrum. And here you can see the area where we can see the right candidates, what we the use cases that we will be able to use the RPA. First, with the data cleanup, which we already spoke about, the application onboarding, we do the disconnected applications. We will be able to use RPA to collect the required questions automatically from the application or the system, especially with Active Directory based integrations. Then they can provide, the bots can provide that to the sale point or the Savians, which they can take up in the upstream and do the integration and onboarding. Data cleanup, I already spoke about that. Access certification, I already spoke about how bots can do that. Now here on the right hand side is where I have highlighted about the decoupled application, where you may need to have a ticket created in a ticketing system like ServiceNow or Remedy. We don't need somebody to sit there and do create. We can have bot to create that, and once that is created, we can have bot to go to the applications, non-connected legacy application, and provision that, and then the bots can come back and then update the ticket and do the necessary steps there forward. At the same time, a bot will be able to create custom reports of how your identity landscape or the analytics based on the KPIs you define. Bot will be able to create those kind of the custom reports also. And lastly, we have few use cases have told about the user data cleanup, which is a very popular use cases of RPA and identity and access management, where you have the user data from multiple sources like Active Directory or HR system, which may not be updated. And there's many places, many places where they are trying to implement SailPoint or Savient or IAM tool. They are having faces the problem with the identity and use data hygiene, where the bots can come and talk to multiple system, collate or create a consolidated data sheet, and they can correct it based on which source of truth or the what kind of rule we define, and then update to the Active Directory or which system you want the bot to update it. So, so this can be achieved very easily, and it can save a bunch of time and resources also for you. Uh, Next one, I have a couple of use cases again on the compliance requirement and follow-ups. As I mentioned, the bots can log on to the GRC or an IAM system, create custom reports of the access and status exceptions. It can note down, what priority that we set upon, and trigger the emails and status and exceptions and all, and then auto email reminders to managers for further actions. Same thing with the ticket creation, where bot can pull in the input details from the HR system, create new tickets in the ServiceNow or Remedy, and they can deduce the appropriate Active Directory or the group or the role, and bots can easily do that based on the rules we set, either based on a spreadsheet, or it can be go and check on another table where we have defined what kind of role they want, and then provision accordingly for each user for the specific Active Directory or which however groups you want to do it, and then come back to this ticketing system update whether the ticket is been fulfilled or you need a second level of thoughts, and then email the managers of the status. And there can be, I can see that There can be a lot of negative scenarios also. So how I do it is like I do the happy path automation, and then after that, we once that is stabilized, we come up with these exception scenarios, pick up the exception scenarios, and make that process still like 80 to 85 percentage correct. And then I know that there are few cases where bots won't be able to do that. At those kind of thing, then bots can assign to specific person that we designate, and where they need really a manual intervention. But the number of tickets which can be automated goes from 0 to 60 to 80, or depending on how the process stability you have. So that's where the beauty of the RPA and the bots come in, saving at least 70 to 80% of the time that you invest in this provisioning, deprovisioning, and other IAM operations. Uh, that's all I have. I think I have kept my time. And this is my contact details. If anybody wants to reach out to me in person, I'll be happy to discuss more.